Hi everybody, welcome back to part 8 now of the Tamiya 132 scale Mosquito build. So over the last couple of weeks I've been working on the engines on the aeroplane. A few episodes ago I built the Tamiya port engine, and over the last couple of episodes I've been putting together this Brassin engine. The Brassin set I've got is for both port and starboard. I've just built the starboard engine over the last couple of episodes. At the beginning of this episode, in part 8, I'm going to finish off the Brassin installation with the cables, pipework and so on, and the extra detailing that comes in the Brassin engine. But I have had a bit of a change of heart really about the use of the Brassin engine. You'll know from the last episode that I had all sorts of difficulties with the bulkhead and the fit of the bulkhead into the Tamiya nacelle parts. And because of that, I've decided to go ahead and build the starboard engine from the Tamiya parts. So just repeating what I've done for the port engine and fit that to the starboard side, and find a way of displaying the Brassin engine next to the completed model. That, as I said, is partly because of the difficulties with the bulkhead fit into the Tamiya wing, but also because I think the Mosquito is such a lovely design. I was really in two minds about having the panels open and losing the shape of the nacelles. So I'm hoping that the decision to go ahead with the Tamiya and be able to fit the cowlings as Tamiya intended, but also have the Brassin engine on display, will really be the best of both worlds. I hope so. And if you've got the Brassin set and want to fit them into the aeroplane, maybe being able to see what I ran into over the last couple of weeks will help you get that in. I just thought it was too much of a risk to press ahead and make all sorts of adjustments and potentially ruin what's really quite an expensive kit. So hopefully that decision will turn out to be the right one. The Brassin engine is very nicely detailed, and it is also a shame not to have that on display. So I'll have to think of a way of doing that when we come to finish the model off. So I'm going to start this week by showing you how I got the rest of the Brassin engine together, and then we'll move on and do the port nacelle and get this engine up to this stage. I'll show you how that worked. Okay, I'm going to press on with some more of the detail parts for this Brassin engine. Just preparing them for paint and fitting. So this is a top hoop, if you like, which goes over the top of the engine mount. Mounts like that, in that sort of position. And it's got a number of small parts to fit to it, so I'll do those first of all. They're all different colours, but for this I'm going to assemble them first and then paint the whole lot. Just pick out the details later on. These are all the rest of the resin and a couple of etched brass parts from the Brassin set. These are all the parts that we need to finish this engine off. But I'm going to paint most of them first. I'll fit these etched brass parts before painting and then just touch them up with some black. But the rest I'll paint separately probably. But then we'll come back once the painting's all been done. We'll get the rest of the engine built up, and then hopefully I'll be able to get the rest of the pipework, cables and so on fitted just to finish this starboard engine off. they're all done, ready to assemble now. So I'll just work around the engine and fit all these parts that I've just prepared. Okay, so that's all the pipe work completed on the Brassin engine now. That's at the point where it could be fitted to the engine nacelle if that's what you wanted to do. But as I explained earlier on, I'm going to be leaving this outside the model. I'm going to find a way of displaying it. I've got a few ideas about how I might do that. Because it's a shame to waste all this detail. And as I said earlier on, the Brassin sets are quite expensive, so I'm not going to just leave it in a box somewhere. We'll think a way of displaying that. And just to compare it with the equivalent Tamiya engine, there's just quite a bit of extra detail in the Brassin, and it's not just a case of the additional pipe work. These copper pipes at the top are provided in the Tamiya kit. We'll come to fit those a bit later on. But there is quite a bit more detail, as you can see. I'll get some close-up photographs of the two engines side by side so you can just see how much more work there is to this Brassin engine. But the next job for the Tamiya parts is to put together the engine nacelles, which are these. And I'm going to put this engine, the Tamiya engine, to one side because these braces at the back are very, very delicate. As you know, I broke off the ones on the Brassin engine when I came to do that. So I'll put that to one side so it doesn't get damaged. This is the port nacelle. Just clean these parts up first of all. To add detail to these nacelles, or to the interior of them, we've got some stainless steel parts to fit from the Tamiya kit. So these ribs that are provided here. So that's the first job for this part, the assembly. And we've also got this plastic part as well to fit, which forms the hinges for the undercarriage bay doors. I'll just keep the sides apart for the moment because there is a danger of getting these mixed up. You can see the hinges for the doors there. That'll provide a nice solid join for the undercarriage doors. And on a Mosquito, the undercarriage doors, particularly on, say, the Tamiya 148 scale kit, are quite difficult to locate, I found, when I built that model. But these are a lot more positive. Obviously, the bigger scale helps. There are one or two very fine ejector pin marks on the bulkheads here, so I'll just scrape those off with a curved blade. They're not very prominent at all, so they don't need a lot of work to get rid of them. These braces are all separately numbered so we don't get them mixed up, so I'll just remove them one at a time. So they're just tacked in at the moment, so I can go back now with some extra thin super glue. So that's one side done. I'll just complete the other side. So that's all the internals done for those nacelles. I can get them painted now and we can start to put them together. So with a coat of Vallejo Duralumin, I'm going to dirty these up a little bit just with some Tamiya panel line wash. And this is just a pin wash really, I'm not spreading it all over the place. Just want to pick out the rivet detail in these undercarriage bays and just along the line of the ribs and so on. Okay, so I've painted the brown along this frame at the side of the engine bearer. And these are present, these brown areas, all the way around where the cowlings fit. And I think that there were probably some sort of pad or seal just to help bed the cowling down onto the frame. So they're just picked out in some matte brown. Tamiya call out to do the whole thing in the matte brown, but I couldn't really see that that would be the case. I think these were just fitted on the outside, on the joining surfaces of the cowling panels. So I've painted the inside faces in the interior green. So I'm just going to clean up the surfaces here of the nacelle where it joins together at the back. That's just to get rid of any paint on the glue surfaces. Okay, so that join I'm going to have to leave to set properly. It's gone together reasonably well. It's going to need some clean-up along the bottom. We've got a tiny little gap at the front. It's just not tightened around that rear bulkhead. So there's a tiny bit of work to do there as well. Now I'm going to fix the engine into position. And I'm going to use some super glue for this, I think, just to make sure that we get a nice strong bond. I'll just do one side at a time. Do the other side now. Just enough room to get some glue in there. Finally, I can fit these struts onto the location point on the nacelle bulkhead just at the top there. So everything's gone together as it should. I'll now fit the coolant tank onto the front of the engine. It's got some form of key on it. I can't work out how it works, but there is a key on that part, which means it orientates the coolant tank into the correct position. Okay, so now we've got the engine installed and the coolant tank in position. I can now fit this pipe which connects the coolant tank at the front to the underside of the engine just at the back here. So to get all this to line up, I've removed the coolant tank, and that's because it was just slightly out of position and it was preventing this pipe from sitting properly. And that's because it has to fit on these two small brackets on the engine bearer. And it was just standing a little bit proud of those, so hopefully this will be a better method. And I want to get it on the correct location on the bearer because I'm just concerned that the cowlings won't fit if this pipe isn't in the right position. I can so I'll refit it now. This is the spinner plate, which obviously goes on the front here. And I've painted it in the medium sea grey of the aircraft. It's the camouflage colour. And on the back side there's just this little bit of detail to pick out. This is actually part of the front of the engine. So just pick that out in some black. It's not really going to be that visible, but I'll do it anyway. I didn't really want to paint this brown seal or gasket, whatever it is, around the edge of the spinner plate, so I've masked it off, just cut a circle template out. And that's given a much better result. So I can put that on now, just test fit it first. Here I'm just checking the position of the cowlings, just to make sure that they're all going to line up. These are incredibly thin pieces of plastic. So they look as though they're going to be a nice fit, or at least on that side. Okay, so I'm happy with that. It's a nice fit. Okay, so I just want to check the fit of the nacelle onto the wing. That's a really nice fit. It's much better than messing about with the Brassin parts, trying to get that to go together. I can't believe that that Brassin set would have gone in very easily. So I'm glad I've gone for the option of building both engines from the Tamiya kit. When you think of the tolerances of the distance from the engine bulkhead to this spinner plate here, getting all that to work with the Brassin would have been very, very difficult, I think. And it's just not worth risking messing the kit up. So I'm happy I've gone down this route. I won't glue the nacelle into position permanently until I've managed to clean this seam up at the back. The engine will be finished off with a couple of pipes which connect it to this bulkhead in the side of the wing. So that'll connect the engine up. They're going to be painted in a copper colour. So that it looks nice and busy. It's obviously not as detailed as the Brassin, but there's as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter, it fits, and that's the main thing. They're a fantastic fit. It's unbelievable with all these potential variations in distances and tolerances that we can get a part to fit like that. It's absolutely perfect. Just checking the fit of the cowlings there, and they're not too bad. I think we need to get the spinner on because the front of these panels I think hooks behind the spinner, so I think that final location will just help to get everything nice and true, but they don't look bad at all. The magnets are fairly weak. They don't actually do a lot of pulling, it's just enough to hold those panels into position. So I've got the final pipes all painted up, ready to fit, and we can now get this nacelle fitted to the wing that we built a few episodes ago. Just want to fix these side panels into place. Time to get the nacelle fitted now, and I'm just going to put glue in these slots because these tabs on the underside of the nacelle here, or on the top side rather, are pretty substantial and they'll hold the assembly firm enough. I'll just get a bit more onto this back end. I'll just use some extra thin just into the back there, just to make sure that we've got a good bond all the way along. Get these last two pipes in now. These obviously go through to the radiators, which is located here just under this panel on the port side. So there must be a flow and return to and from the engine back to the radiators. I'm just using my padded tweezers for these metallic parts. Just helps to avoid scratching them. Okay, that's one engine done. Just out of interest, take a look at the fit of the cowlings. I have put the magnet plates on these cowlings. They're not going to go on exactly as they will eventually, because the tabs at the front here hook under the spinner, I believe. So we don't have the spinner on obviously at the minute, so I don't think they'll hold on exactly as they're meant to. So that's not a bad fit at all, really. So I've obviously got all that to do again for the starboard engine, which I'll do over the next few days, and hopefully next week we can move on to something else in the build, hopefully get the wing installed into the fuselage, and we'll have something looking a bit more like a Mosquito, I hope. Okay, so there we are, starting to come together a little bit. I've just test fitted the wing into the fuselage that we built a few episodes ago. Everything's a really nice fit, so I've no worries about getting the wing assembled to the fuselage. So obviously I've got quite a bit of work to do over the next week to bring the starboard engine from the Tamiya kit up to the same point that we've managed to get the port engine this week. So I'll be doing that over the next few days and hopefully get it ready, but I'm not going to be covering that in the next part, in part 9. You've seen it all before, so I'm not going to repeat that. I'll just be doing that in the background. But what I will do for next week's episode is to make a start on the undercarriage. We've obviously got the main legs fitted as part of the bulkhead build in the Tamiya kit. But I'll build the rest of the undercarriage legs and put the wheels together as well. But I'll need to keep the work for next week's episode short, because obviously I'm going to take quite a bit of the week doing this starboard engine again. So in the meantime, everybody, look after yourselves, stay safe, enjoy your modelling, and I'll see you in another few days. Bye for now.